Hey everyone, welcome back to part 2 of my Wither Skeleton farm video. If you haven't checked out the first video, please make sure you do. I'm going to link it in the description because we're cutting kind of straight into it. If you want the gist of what happened last time, ultimately I finished the first layer of my Wither Skeleton farm and I was about to start explaining how some of the storage is going to work, or the collection system at least. So that's what we're jumping right into now. I did want to note before we get started that I do have a Discord now, so if you want to keep up to date with my videos, my live streams, and even get a sneak peek on some redstone builds that I'm going to start doing, make sure you join the Discord. And also, if you need help with any of my previous builds and stuff like that, you got any questions, you can always hit us up on the Discord. But anyway, without further ado, on with the episode. I thought I should give you a little update on what we've done up here. So as I mentioned, the portals on both the overworld side and the nether side are pretty much linked. So now this is where all the wither skeletons are going to come out from, and this singular glowstone block is my AFK spot. The reason why I started recording was because I thought this might be interesting to some viewers, anyone who's not aware of how to make a collection chamber from one central point across multiple droppers, because when you're having a ton of items coming through in a system, unfortunately just a couple of hoppers doesn't usually do the job. Neither does a couple of droppers either. So you can see here for this base, we've got 4 droppers going into 4 hoppers. But actually what we do is we put a hopper onto each side of each hopper that's going into the droppers. So once we've done that, on the center point, you want to put a end rod. Want to get rid of the temporary block just at the top. It's actually not that important, but it's best to not probably have it there, I would say. And the second thing you want to do is, if you keep an eye out for this little thing here, so you have to put a cobweb in the middle of this, because it's going to catch all of the items and it's going to centralize them and make sure they don't spit all over the place. You still end up putting some barriers around on the second layer underneath the droppers, but this is a great way to do it when you're using piston pushers to put things in a system. I think it actually works pretty well just in general, even in like just heavy flow mob farms. There may be something for you guys to consider, but if you're going to be using it and making the same farm, make sure you use a similar collection system. The second thing we're going to want to do is get 4 hopper minecarts. The idea is to squish 4 hopper minecarts, so we're going to put a hopper minecart on each corner, and then we're going to try and push them into the corner so they try and cover about like 3 hoppers at a time, and everyone that we push in is kind of going to cover like this 3 hopper radius. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to place some rails down. They don't have to be powered rails, they can be any kind of rails, just not detector rails because they power the minecarts and then they end up flying off. So you can see here we're just going to go ahead and craft a hopper minecart. We're going to pop that down here, and then actually we're going to start moving them in one by one, I think. Hold on, no, you can't do that. So actually what we do is we're going to go ahead and craft all of the hopper minecarts. So let me just grab 3 of these. So that's 3 hopper minecart. Well, that's 3 minecarts, and then we're going to go ahead and make them into hopper styles. Man, can they do this a little bit faster, maybe? Anyway, so what we do is we're going to pop those down. This is actually quite difficult, and probably more difficult than it looks, because trying to snake my way around this is going to be kind of interesting. Did I just break that rail? No, I didn't. I'll break that one. Gonna break that one, and we're just gonna place our last hopper minecart and break. Oops, not the rail, that's the rail right there. Fantastic. So now the job is to push everything into one center. There is one unfortunate thing I forgot to do. I needed some concrete powder. The thing is, I've got some concrete powder in my chest, but I wanted black because it tended to look the best. But we're gonna have to go, let's see what we got. I think we've only got light gray, which is unfortunate. Yes, we've got light gray and lime. Unfortunately, not the best choices of concrete powder. I don't have any gravel and sand to make any different ones. No, we're just gonna stick with light gray. It's okay, we're using some cyan terracotta in the build anyway, so it should be fine. So the reason why I'm gonna need that, you'll see in a sec. So we're going to start pushing these guys into the center. So you can see that guy's kind of taken 3 there. This one has also kind of, there you go. That's taken a little bit more. We could do a little test, but I'm going to hold off on that for now. And so we're going to go ahead and push this in. And then the last one to do is this one. So what we'll do again pop that a little bit into the corner, and that actually should be more or less, there we go. That seems to be covering almost all of them, so you can see it's mostly evenly distributed. I believe this should cover that one as well. I think it should be fine. So here's what we're going to do. We want to encase the hopper minecarts in some gravity blocks. You can actually use a piston to put regular blocks on them too, but this is just quite a bit easier, to be honest. So as you can see, all of that's now gone. Now the final thing to do, we just need one more minecart hopper. So give me a second. Let me just go ahead and craft that up. And this is what we do. You put on a temporary block. You're going to put a rail on top. You're going to get the hopper minecart, break this off. We're going to break this block too. We're going to go ahead and encase that. And that actually, my friends, is basically it. I don't know if I have any blocks. Yeah, we're going to put in 20 cobblestone into the system. Hopefully we can see most of it working. So let's give it a go. Yep. Oh, okay, that got rid of things even quicker than I wanted it to. Hold on, let me try. I'm not going to use the ice up. Let's try this. Yes, so you can see pretty much everything is clicking on. They just stopped there because it ran out. So you can see now, basically, you can tell all the hopper minecarts are evenly distributed off of this one platform now. So when I create the killing chamber, they're all going to be squeezed into this one section. And no matter how many items they drop, we're going to have a good amount of distribution for this. That and the portals were the two most difficult things to do, even though they didn't look like it. This is me having done this in creative about 5 times, and also I've done this in a previous world in a similar farm, so I'm quite well versed in this. But if you do it yourself, just be careful that the hopper minecart placement can be quite tricky sometimes. So we're going to go ahead and remove all these temporary blocks, and then I want to continue with the build. I'm not going to show you too much because I've already given you a little tour of the farm on my creative world, and I've made some design choices since then, so I'd rather just show you a little bit more progress with that later on. So I'm going to go ahead and continue the rest of this work. I'll get things built up a little bit. We've got a whole storage system and stuff to do. I actually decided that before I continue with doing any of the layers, I want to finish all of this up, because the moment I finish doing the layers and I leave the area, where the skeletons are going to start to spawn like crazy and things are going to get out of control, and the first thing you want to do is make sure the system is running. Now that this is all done, I'm going to build up the chamber, build up the funnel, and then I'll get started on the storage. And then as soon as I'm done that, I might bring you guys back in for the build of the actual farm so we can go through the rest of the layers together. So yeah, you guys will see soon enough. Okay, so the project is we're getting there. We're about 70% of the way there at this point. As far as this little base is concerned, the chute is done. So if any wither skeletons start falling down here, it's not a problem. I don't have to worry about things breaking or making adjustments. They're good to fall down now if they really need to. Even though the storage system isn't ready, at least we've got something going. So yeah, I just wanted to give you a little progress update on that. As you can see here as well, the rails are out on display because we are now ready to start sending some of our piglins in. The first one's going to be ready to be shot off onto the rails. He's going to make his way down here. Again, shout out to Logical Geek Boy. His method for this was pretty good, to be honest. So I'm going to get rid of all of these because they're probably going to get in the way, and then that should drop them down, and he should land right here basically, and he'll come down the rails. I've already made the first chute for them. Now what I've done is a little bit over the top. In some testing I've seen the piglin, once you break the minecart, flies out onto another block somewhere. And I think it's probably easier if I just take over precautions for now. Instead of underestimating the situation and then he pops out the minecart and then that's one wasted and I have to do the whole situation again. The whole gathering piglins it wasn't that hard this time thanks to this little trick, but nonetheless it is still complicated, and we're going to try and make sure we don't waste any piglins. So I think it's time. Let's get these little piglins in their little cells. Like I said, once they're in there I can light up the portals. And I can start using the first layer to let some stuff build up. I do need to get the piglins in on the other side too, which you'll see. You can't really see because it's a glass barrier thing. But once that's up, then we're going to be doing good. Right, so the motive at this point was essentially to go and grab all of the piglins, get them into their chambers in the actual farm, and then basically start building up the layers from there. So I one by one would grab these piglins, take them over to the little chamber. Once they're snugly fit into the little chamber, essentially the idea was just to pop them out of their little minecart, and then basically the idea was just to repeat this process about 6 times each layer. So one by one I started off and filled out the first layer, which was essentially really the easy part. Layer 1 was good, everything went okay, and then layer 2 came, and then layer 3 came. As I went through all the layers, I basically tested out each time to see if I was getting like a good increase in numbers, and successfully, yes, everything worked exactly how it was supposed to, and yeah, I saw significant increases every single time. Now, I didn't want to really get into too much of the build itself, because you know, you kind of get the idea, right? We're gonna build this thing up, we're gonna get the killing chamber ready, get the sorting system ready, and that's pretty much the gist of it. Now, I did have some tweaks and some interesting design choices, and a few redstone-ish kind of things that I wanted to show you. So I thought, why not skip past all of this part? I'll show you exactly what I've done, which you've probably seen 100 times on many other videos before, and then we'll basically come back in and I can show you the final product, because I'm quite excited to actually reveal this to you. I think you're gonna like it. I really like it. So without further delay, let's wrap all this up. We're gonna get back into the real world. I'm going to show you everything I've done. So here we have it, the final product. It is done, it is finished. I hope you enjoyed the initial first look at it. You know, when you have the first look at it, it can be a lot to take in or to understand. So I kind of wanted to just run through some of the more key features of the whole thing. I won't spend too much time boggling you down with details, but I do want to kind of break it down for you. We'll start off firstly by maybe explaining the design choice. So what I was looking for was something that kind of met biomes along with original structures. So in this case, because the skeleton farm kind of joins in with a basalt deltas, I thought it'd be nice to incorporate those two colors. Plus, basalt goes really well with nether brick, especially when you use other colors in the palette too. So I thought that was a good combination to add these two together. So yeah, I think the kind of look came out really nice. You've got some of the cracked black stone on there as well. Sorry, the cracked nether brick on there as well. We've got some of the new lighting, and again, because we're in the Soul Sand Valley, so the soul flame is now like a whole new thing. So I added some soul lanterns. I think they look pretty good. They look nice. They're just kind of hanging from the sides. I think they really kind of bring out the look a little bit more, and they kind of add a little bit more lighting to the situation too. And then I just kind of went ahead and put in some metal bars on the side. It kind of gave it more of like a, you know, gave it a bit more of a structure, right? So it kind of made it fit more into like the fortress kind of theme. And then just coming around to the top over here, where our actual killing chamber is. So the reason for this actually was because I needed a double function. So I needed to hide the drops falling down and the dropper that's actually shooting out all of the items. And I thought, you know what, it looks kind of cool to have like it floating on like a little basalt delta island kind of thing. So it kind of worked out pretty good to have this kind of floating up here with the basalt deltas. And then it kind of gives it that whole kind of floating island look. And the reason for that is because you'll see this little hole over here basically. And this is where all the items are falling through, so they're all being shot down from that little location I showed you earlier on in the video. So yeah, they're all coming down from there. They're all being shot out dispensers, and then they're being aligned, and then it's going into the sorting system that we have nicely hidden back over here. The sorting system, I originally, when I made it, I was going to build a whole different design around it, and then I realized, you know what, this doesn't look, it didn't look so great. It looked, the shape of the sorting system was kind of weird, so I had to use a design where I encompassed the whole kind of thing, which actually gave me a lot more space for some other stuff, which I'll get into in a sec. So anyway, making like that kind of like an island and having that kind of floating on top there kind of made it have a reason for why there's just a random thing kind of floating on top there as well, almost. And funnily enough, one of the more interesting things I wanted to show you guys was actually further up back here again. So there is an on-off switch for this, and it's kind of wireless redstone almost. Well, it is actually wireless redstone, but it's not the best, and actually can be improved, but can only be improved in 1.17. I won't get into the details of that, but all I can tell you is Snowier Snow actually comes in useful for something for once, and it will be slowing down items or aligning items from droppers. So anyway, when I want to turn, let's say for example, I've flown in here, or I've just come in through my ice roads, I fly straight up here, and then to turn on the sorting system like down below, I just hit this button here, and then I can carry on swiping away. And unfortunately there's a little bit of a delay, which is why the Snowier Snow will come in handy, because there won't be so much of a delay with that. And you can see the system is still off. It's going to take a few seconds for the item to fall from there. You can see the second cobweb, the item's going to fall down and switch the whole system on, which you'll probably see in a second, hopefully. Does take quite some time, if I'm completely honest. You can hear me picking up the other items in the meantime. You should see, there it goes, and the system is now turned on. So it is wireless redstone. It's very slow wireless redstone, unfortunately, but once Snowier Snow comes out, we can use the new snow block, or whatever it's called, the powdered snow, and the powdered snow block should make that system work a lot quicker. Actually should make the whole thing like kind of move items around a lot quicker, because I won't have to use cobwebs anymore, which are really good, but they add too much of a delay to the timing and stuff. So yeah, we're you know, that'll be a good little change to make once that does come out. And then just coming up at the top over here, I didn't really have too much of a design thought process up here, but I wanted to add something, so I thought it'd be nice just to add like this little lighting system on top of this little hut on top over here. But again, this was nothing. This was mostly just to cover up some of it. I could have really just covered up most of it with glass. It wouldn't have mattered. But I thought if you do have a look at it when you're coming in from another side, at least it kind of fits in theme with the entire build. So I thought it was, you know, I thought it was a good little addition to it. And again, I already explained this in the old video, or the first video, sorry, and maybe even earlier in this episode. But when you get to with the skeletons here, they just take a nice little swipe. All the items will be shot down into the sorting system. And again, because the nether portal's too wide, sometimes with the skeletons will fall down here. There is a detection system for them on a pressure plate, so if they fall on it, the piston will just align them into my little killing chamber over here. So this is a good time to get an understanding of rate. Now, this is the storage for coal, and this is bone. I didn't have any bone at the time, so I used a bone block instead. So I did some AFKing overnight. I would say maybe even did about 6 or 7 hours. Now, I haven't touched my wither skeleton skulls since that time. I have, however, moved those out, but I can let you know what that worked out as. And in about 6 or 7 hours, I ended up with one entire shulker box of wither skeleton skulls. So I did some timings and checked, you know, the overnight progress and how many I ended up with, and I averaged about 250 wither skeleton skulls an hour, which is very, very good, especially when, as you've seen, there's no mob spawn proofing done at all. I could actually do the mob spawn proofing, which I might do at some later date, and that could increase the farm's drops significantly, but I think for now, I'm okay. So this is a good amount with the skeleton skulls, even for what we're going to need them for, so we won't worry too much about that. In terms of coal, we had about 4 rows of shulker boxes full of coal from this whole thing, and then bones we got a lot more. We got almost an entire double chest of shulker boxes of bones. So this thing produces bones like crazy, and unfortunately transporting an entire double chest of bones and then half a double chest of coal is a little bit inefficient. So I decided maybe it was best to kind of have a place where I can destroy all of the bones and the coal down to blocks, get them both into block form, and then they're easier for me to carry. Which takes me back to a last minute decision I made, and that's not this beacon over here. Please go ahead and ignore it. It's pretty ugly, but so is the normal beacon. Unless I get another right one, which would be quite probably quite excessive and not something I want to do right now, so we'll think about that another time. But that brings us back into this little back chamber of this room over here. So you can see what we've got at the back is basically a return station for all the shulker boxes. So all the bone shulker boxes and all the coal shulker boxes all go in here. This side is completely empty because I was going to make a storage for the extra piglins that I've got. I'm still going to, I just never got around to it. So it's just a nice little extra bit of area. I might add some double chests for some extra storage, but I just left it kind of plain for now. So if we come over to this side though, we can see our patented shulker box crafting system. So this is what I would use to break down all of the coal and bones into blocks and then kind of compact them into, you know, lesser shulker boxes. So I think from the entire double chest of bones, it ended up being something like I think it was one row of shulker boxes of bones and then like only a few of them for coal. So actually the compacting of that was actually pretty good, and this was definitely a good addition. This whole room, just making sure that I had things looking kind of nice and stuff, this thing took me like maybe 5 or 6 hours, especially making this again. It seems like every time I make a shulker box crafting system, I end up making a new one because I forget how to build them, so I end up just making one that's completely different. However, I've actually saved this design now, and this is a very good crafting system. It's very compact and requires very little stuff, and I think actually it has no redstone dust at all. It has one redstone block, but you could actually change that out as well if you wanted to, but it has no redstone dust at all. But well, I'm not going to get into that for now. I just want to we'll move on for now. And again, we've got a couple of furnaces here. If I'm just in the area, I need to smelt like a couple quick items. We've got all the coal in the world here, and you know, I can just smelt a couple of things up on this side. So I've got a couple plans for this area in the future, and maybe one of them is to connect a super smelter up somewhere here, so we can just have the coal feeding into the super smelter. But then again, I also want the super smelter in the end where I'm going to make my concrete factory or my, you know, sand duplication machine. So I can use the super smelter to end up making glass, and it'll be nice and easy to have it all in one place. But then again, I've also got the coal in shulker boxes, so they're still easy to move. So, you know, who knows? We'll think of that at another time. And also, because I removed the hut that you saw in the last episode over there, I've also made another hole in the bedrock in this room. Just to make sure I've got access to go down there if I ever need to change the piglins up, one of them dies or something. I want to make sure I've always got access to it. So that, my friends, is the entire tour of the Wither Skeleton Farm. This project spanned over about a week and a half, maybe even 2 weeks. It took a lot of time, a lot of effort, and honestly, it was ultimately quite worth it, and I'm quite glad I did. So if you enjoyed the video and you enjoyed the breakdown or any of my content, please make sure you leave a like and subscribe. I'm going to end the episode here. I've got a lot more stuff coming up in next episodes. I can't wait to start. This is actually one of the advantages of finishing this episode. Please make sure you tune in for the next one. Bye-bye.